Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Big Blonde and Beautiful, the podcast. If you're new here, my name is Kara Howie, and each episode I discuss a piece of media with that representation in it and ultimately decide if it's positive or negative. This week, we're going to be talking about Little Miss Sunshine, but before we get into that, I'm thrilled to introduce my guest, Caitlin Magnell-Kerns. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so Caitlin is a writer from Belfast, Ireland, who works across screen, stage, and radio, who often looks at fatness, queerness, and disability with warmness and wit. And I'm very excited to get to talk about this movie with you today. So again, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to talk about this film. It's been one I watched kind of when it came out, so it's interesting revisiting it down the line.
Yes. 20 years, did it come out in 2006?
2006 or 2007. Yeah, I think it was 2006, maybe, when it was like festival.
So 20 years later.
Yeah, wow.
Oh yeah, because they just had that reunion. I remember they just had one.
Yes, of course. Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, so 20. Crazy. So before we get into the movie, I have a few questions. What inspired you to write about fatness, queerness, and disability?
Lived experience, pretty much. I suppose, from my own perspective, I'm kind of a big advocate of, if you don't see yourself represented in the media, like, why don't you try and, I don't know, fix it? Or, I don't know, I just think that we're still so underserved in terms of stories about or just featuring fat characters, queer characters, disabled characters, and also the intersectionality between all three of those as somebody, who is queer and disabled who lives in a fat body. So I think just even having people who, it's not necessarily about any of those things, but they're just existing in the intersections of those, and doing it in a way where I think it's relatable to those who are living in similar situations and similar bodies, but then also kind of educational, or somewhat kind of gives people an insight into what it might be like to live in those. And then I think ultimately that creates more of an understanding.
Yeah, media, in whether we realize it or not, informs us a lot about different types of people, especially if we don't have those types of people in our lives. We're learning about that. And if there's not enough of a variety, or just in general of representation, then you're kind of lacking in the knowledge about those types of people. And as a fat, queer, disabled person, I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I think as well, it's that thing of like, people think just because you've got one fat character, or one disabled character, or one queer character, it's like you can have more, there's more than one experience of those things.
Yeah.
They can live beside each other, so I'm a big advocate as well. If there's going to be a disabled character, why not have a bunch of disabled characters if there's going to be queer characters, and how they live with that and experience that is, all different.
So you wrote and directed a short film titled Dear Body. And in this film, a plus-size woman addresses her body in a mirror and asks for forgiveness for the hate, anger, and disgust that she's shown towards it. What did writing this project show you that you didn't expect?
I think it was I wrote it with a friend of mine in mind who's an actress, and I think it was just a really powerful reclamation, because I think it's things that I know and I think, and that internally I'm kind of dealing with and live with day to day, but actually, for her to look into a mirror and say, like, I'm so sorry to this body that I have hated, and actually that it's not her fault, obviously, because everything around her is telling her, you need to shrink, you need to change, you need this to be different. So yeah, I think it was just a really powerful, it felt really, with doing it with a plus size actress, and a friend of mine. So I think it was almost like a very collective kind of healing, and making her feel really beautiful, and hoping that she got something out of it too. I think it was just a really lovely process. And it's a project. It was a very kind of short. It was the BBC over here in Northern Ireland do like a thing called 2-minute masterpiece. So it's literally, you get £1,000 to make a 2-minute film. So it was quite a quick process, but it was a really valid one, and a really I ended up going to a few like local festivals and stuff. So that was really cool, and just to see kind of a a plus size body, I in a neutral state, and actually looking at it and talking about it, and yeah, I don't know. It was really interesting and powerful kind of process making that film.
That must have been certainly an experience to make with a friend. Was it like weird or uncomfortable at times seeing your friend like talking to herself in the mirror and saying like the words that you've thought?
I think we were quite lucky because she was in a play of mine that I wrote, my first play, which was about fatness and fertility. So we kind of had a lot of very open discussions about that, and done a lot of work around that. So I think actually she just really resonated with it, and it was like almost as if she could have said it herself, but I've just articulated it. So we got quite lucky in terms of like our shared view of it was really similar. And obviously I was able to communicate with her about, are you comfortable in this situation, or would you say something a bit differently? Because I am, as a writer, I'm very adaptive, and I'm very kind of open to, if my actor says I wouldn't say something like that, or, oh, I wouldn't use that word. I'm really about empowering, if I'm in the position of being a director, or, I'm collaborating with a performer. Because again, even if we have the same experience of living in a plus size body, it's also the way that we interact with the world or feel about it might be incredibly different. So I think that's really,
There are definitely a lot of shared experiences that I have talked about with guests that I've had. And there are also a lot of differences in how we've approached those shared experiences. So yeah, it's definitely like you might have had something happen or felt this way, but then you deal with it in a different way. So that's really cool. So obviously you are trying to get representation out there yourself by writing and directing. What are some real steps that you think the industry could take to be more diverse?
I think thinking about casting in a more dynamic and interesting way. I think just because it's not written on a piece of paper that someone is a certain thing, that doesn't mean they can't be. And it's actually interesting. There was a play on in the UK recently, and they had a plus size actress playing one of the roles, and they got the play text to see if it said, and it didn't. And I thought, God, why am I so relieved that a really talented plus size actress is getting work in a part that's totally nothing to do. And I think that that's progress, just kind of not. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's interesting, and I think as well, just writers being bolder with their decisions. I don't know. I just think we all need to be a bit braver and a bit more. It's really difficult because when you're a freelancer, or when you work as a creative who's being employed, it's really hard to stand up for what you believe in and what you think, because you're worried you might not get employed again, or that people might think it difficult. But I do think, it's important. It's important to advocate, and any chance I get where I can kind of say, what if there was some disabled rep in here? What if there was some queer rep in here? How have we thought about this kind of actor playing this part, Yeah, I just think people being a lot more open-minded is only ever a good thing. And it always excites me when I see, in a cast announcement, whether that be like a TV show or a film or a play, a plus size actor playing a role, which, to me anyway. But at the same time as well, I think we need more depictions of, fatness and queerness and disability that do address it. At the same time, I think those two things can coexist. We can count on one hand, anyway, I can, examples of where I felt seen in any of those facets. So, I think it's a mix of the two of those things, having things that actively depict the differences of fatness, but also alongside having ones that have nothing to do with it and just happen to happen.
I feel like we need to tip the scales more in terms of seeing those types of representations without fatness being necessarily a factor, just because there's so many. And then ones that address fatness without it being like, oh, poor me. Like, obviously there are struggles that we deal with because society hates fat people. But also, as fat people, we don't need to see that reflected necessarily all the time, because it's our lived experience. We deal with it all the time. Like, we get it. Let's move on, honestly.
I mean, I try to write, I don't know, things that are, I write primarily comedy as well. So it's trying to, I mean, I had a project last year that didn't end up going anywhere, but it was about it was going to be like a sitcom, or maybe it'll go somewhere. Maybe someone will listen to this and be like, I want to see that. But it
There
was
you
about
go.
a group of plus size women in East Belfast, where I'm from, who set up a amateur sumo club in like a back room of a pub. And so they're very much like, we are big women, but this is, it's also a comedy, and it's not about them hating themselves. It's actually going, we've got power in this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I'm always trying to find ways of, finding interesting ways of ingratiating. Because again, I don't want them to not cast a fun actor. So because I'm like, if I don't write it down, you probably won't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that thing of trying to balance it and be like, I would love in a world for me not to mention it, and then magically you think, oh, X, Y, and Z. But
Yeah.
No, we've still got a long way to go, and in many ways, I'm sure like I feel like we've regressed. So it's
Yes,
fighting
very
back.
much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially during awards season, seeing the like amount of women specifically who are just like, you can literally see their bones. I'm like, y'all, that's so scary. And I of course don't want to like shame anyone, because we don't know what they're going through, if it's a health thing, if it's a choice that they made, they are being pressured to be that skinny, or if it's a combination of a bunch of different things. But I'm just like, that looks so scary. And then the bad thing is some people are like praising them for that, and you're like, that's very not good, guys.
Yeah, when very thin people are getting even thinner, that's when it's scary. And again, the whole thing of like, we shouldn't talk about people's bodies, but I think it's when you're in the public eye and this has happened, it's a really difficult thing. And as you said, we don't know. I know there was a huge thing with like specifically the Osbournes, and like obviously they're going through immense grief at the time, like the minute, and so you're kind of go, right, but it's really scary. When even the thin people are feeling like they need to get even smaller, and
and then also you have to think about the people that are watching them, looking up to them and wanting to be like them, and you're just like, this can snowball into some very bad things. So I'm hoping that we start to make strides again towards just like being like, this is my body and that's okay, and we don't have to be like a toothpick.
Exactly.
Nobody has to be a certain size. Like,
exactly. Everyone can kind of coexist, and it's grand and it's good. But award season this year was scary. Even seeing from when people were in a film to then seeing them on the red carpet and going, oh my god.
You're like, wow, okay. So as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking about the movie Little Miss Sunshine, which came out in 2006. So in case any of our listeners haven't seen it, there will be spoilers. We're talking about the movie, so there will be spoilers. And I'm going to give a little synopsis, and then we'll get more into the discussion. So the Hoover family, a man, his wife, an uncle, a brother, and a grandfather, puts the fun back into dysfunctional by piling into a VW bus and heading to California to support their daughter Olive in her bid to win the Little Miss Sunshine contest. The sanity of everyone involved is stretched to the limit as the group's quirks cause epic problems as they travel along their interstate route. And that's what the film is about. I feel like that's a light way of putting it.
Yeah,
it is. There's some interesting things that happen along the way. So I wanted to start with the first time that anything is mentioned in regards to weight or food or anything, which is when they get the message on the voicemail about a little girl being disqualified because of diet pills.
Yes,
which is
I
crazy.
forgot about that. Yeah. It's
really a very small moment, but I was like, she's also a 7-year-old, I'm assuming around Olive's age.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's crazy.
It's hammering home from the start. I mean, it's like that first image you see of Olive mimicking the beauty queen on the screen, and so you kind of immediately know, right, this is what this is about. And it's interesting. As a writer, I went back to the script because I was like, what did it say about Olive in the screenplay? And it says A 6-year-old girl sits watching the show intently. This is Olive. She is big for her age and slightly plump. So in the script,
Yeah.
it names kind of Olive's plumpness, physique, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but the fact that Abigail Breslin as a child is wearing a fat suit is...
She is?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll
definitely get into that.
But the torso is, padding.
What? First of all, for them to be like, we have to cast a kid that isn't like conventionally, I don't even want to say attractive, because that's like a child.
Like cute, and you're kind of, Shirley Temple, like
a classic beauty queen type look.
Yes.
And then to cast a kid, not even a fat kid, and then put a fat suit on them. I mean, in some ways, I guess it's better maybe for the child's mental health that they're not acting this out and thinking this is how my body looks, and we're like acting like it's a bad thing. But I did not know that. That is, even when I looked up, like, because I always look up articles on like body image and fat phobia or fat representation and whatever I'm going to talk about with the guest. And that was not a conversation in the article.
I'm just double checking, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I believe you, but that's crazy.
Yeah, Abigail Breslin. She wore a padded suit. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I guess she is kind of like that makes sense now when I'm like thinking about how she looks in the film.
Even her little vest, I kind of, once you see it, you're kind of like, all right, okay, I kind of understand. And as you said, it's a difficult one because, again, it kind of gives her a bit of distance from the actual lived experience of the character, because I don't think it's not that noticeable. It's kind of almost like a layer on her to be like, you're not Olive.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult, with children and stuff, it's really difficult, and especially the subject matter of this film and a lot of the discussions in it.
Crazy. So we have the diet pills, which they're like 6, 7, 8 years old on diet pills. It's giving like Hollywood Judy Garland vibes. But it's just, that's just insane. And then I think the next big moment when it comes to body image would be at the diner.
Yes.
With the, how does she say it? Alamodi or something?
Yeah, Alamodi. Yeah, it's so cute.
And Alamode, and she's trying to order waffles with ice cream, and then her dad takes this as the opportunity to be like, well, cream comes from the fat of the cow milk, and then that becomes fat on you, and then he's like, that's not a good thing. You want to win, right? And he makes it he in that moment makes fatness a bad thing. And this poor little girl, her face just broke my heart.
Yeah, really. But I think it's such a kind of relatable moment, or a kind of moment that felt quite authentic, and I think it's also a really nice moment because you have everyone, and like Toni Collette's character who plays the mum. I think she says, like, you can be skinny, you can be fat, as long as you're happy.
Yes.
And I was like, that's really nice. And the whole, like, the way the whole family kind of get together and start eating the ice cream. And here's another, again, I'm a bit of a nerd about this film. The fact that the ice cream is chocolate is because everyone had like allergies or different things they didn't eat. So usually Alamode is vanilla ice cream, but the only thing they could find that all of them could eat was chocolate at the time. So like, it must have been like soy-free, vegan, and it was like the only thing they could find was chocolate. So that's why they're like, that's why it's not vanilla.
Interesting, because when it was set down, I was kind of like, why is it not vanilla? But that's very interesting. I love that you know all these little tidbits about it. I love learning stuff like that about films.
Yeah, I used to watch it with like the commentary and stuff. So like I have random little nuggets of like, yeah.
Love that. So yeah, honestly, her dad's kind of a dick in this.
Yeah.
I feel like he falls into the trap a little bit of the like parent who's doing this under the guise of, I care about you. I want you to be happy and healthy type of thing, which growing up as a fat child, I have had that for many adults in my life, and it is not any less hurtful. Or harmful. Did you also have that type of experience growing up?
Yeah, and even to this day, I think people still have that attitude of like, I'm just worried about your health, and you kind of go,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're worried because I don't fit a certain aesthetic. That like, what about my mental health? What's best for me
Yeah.
mentally? What's best for me? And I think that thing of I'm just worried about you. I'm just thinking, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very relatable in her little face, and you kind of go, oh God, like that's so such a little like a relatable
Mm-hmm.
moment. I think there's is captured like pretty well in terms of like
Yeah.
how it plays out, and actually a nice kind of subversion of it that they kind of all rally behind her and go, no,
Mm-hmm. And I also find it interesting that it's the dad, because I feel like normally in that role it's the mom
Mm.
who's like, you need to be skinny, but in this it's the dad. So I find
Yeah,
that
I
very
never thought about
interesting.
that. But I think that's what another thing I like about this film is like, it's not the mum who's being kind of, because usually it's like the dad's cool and he's really nice and charming and it's like, don't worry about it. And the mum's like some
Yeah.
kind of shrew and really buttoned up and kind of horrible. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, you're right, it's very much flipped in that
Yeah.
she's endlessly supportive and endlessly kind of kind. And actually, it's rare you see a mother-daughter relationship like that on screen. And
Yes.
it's quite refreshing to have the dad be the one who's not the kind of swoop in and solve everything
Mm-hmm.
and take you away from your bitch mother or like whatever. It's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
I also kind of, in a weird way, love the way that everyone else looks absolutely horrified
Mm.
while he's talking. He's like, they're like, stop talking. What are you doing to this poor little girl? And I think it's because he's so blunt about it. I feel like if he had gone about it in a different way, but still with the same message, they wouldn't have had that same reaction.
Yeah, he's
But
incredibly unsubtle throughout, like in everything he does. Like,
I honestly, truly do not like him. I know that he has some good qualities, and like, I appreciate how he sticks up for Olive in the end when she's doing her routine, which was like very inappropriate, but she didn't know. And I do appreciate that, but yeah, other than that, he's kind of just a dick in the whole movie, and his whole like 9 steps to success thing. I'm like, dear Lord Jesus, he gets on my nerves. I
yeah, no,
don't know if you feel the same.
yeah. I mean, again, he has a redemptive moment at the end. Is it enough? Probably not. You kind of hope that, and after the film, he's kind of learned something, or like,
Mm-hmm.
I think near the end, him embracing it, like the bit with the cop with the pornography in the trunk and stuff. Like, I think near the start of the film, he probably would have not gone along with it, and I
Yeah.
think he gets swept up in the kind of
He's
craziness.
also terrified that they're gonna find the body of
Well, of
his dead
course, yeah,
father
exactly. But I think
in the trunk.
he would have been, oh no, that's not mine, that's not mine. And I think by the
Yeah,
end, it's kind of but I think you're right. I think oh God, so many times in this film, you're like, oh my God, shut up. Like, you're
literally.
so like, but I think Greg Kinnear like plays it so well. And I really also believe them as like a family. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
really buy into it.
Yeah.
Even though like Steve Carell and Toni Collette look nothing alike, I still totally buy their brother and sister.
Yeah. I had only watched this film one time previously before you like picked it, and I was like, okay, I got to do a rewatch because it's been forever. And I completely forgot that Steve Carell's character is gay.
Mm.
And it literally the first second I said, "Wait. Okay." I was because I don't picture Steve Carell as playing a gay character. I don't
Mm.
know. And so it took me aback a second. I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." But yeah, then I think that also adds to the dynamic of things because, the grandpa and the dad, they're a little interesting. And the fact that, which also leads to him talking about the fat stuff. And then he's like, and she's going to find out eventually, like kind of a jab to the mom about talking about Frank's attempted suicide with her, which those are very hard topics to discuss with a child. I don't know if they went about it how I would have gone about it. But honestly, sometimes there's like, you just are trying to figure it out in the moment. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is also kind of a jab at the mom. He's like, well, you're going to tell her something I don't want her to know. I'm going to tell her something you don't want her to know.
Yeah. Very
That is bad.
much. But it's interesting. I never thought about his name being Frank and like being Frank and like,
oh, yeah.
I wonder if that was deliberate. I don't know.
Maybe. I love his like kind of love hate, well, mostly hate relationship with the dad, Richard. How he did, especially in the car when he's like being sarcastic.
Yeah.
That's a really funny bit that I love. That has nothing to do with fat representation, but I just had to add it in there. That it cracks me up. I also wanted to talk about Grandpa Edwin and his relationship with Olive. It's so weird because when I think of that actor, the movie that I think of is Santa Claus 3.
Yeah.
He's like the father-in-law in that. And in that movie, he reminds me, the way he dresses and acts, so much of my grandpa. And in this one is so not like my grandpa. And so it's so weird to see him in those very different roles. But despite the fact that he truly, honestly, is kind of a hot mess, he is so supportive of Olive and he helps her so much. Like, their hotel room scene is so heartwarming. And she's like, am I pretty? And her face is just like, again, heartbreaking.
Yeah, she's so good in this.
Yes. You forget that she's an actor, which I feel like is very rare with child actors.
Yeah.
And she's very good at it. So.
Very good. Yeah, exactly what I want.
Yes. We'll give you your props, girl.
But I also think it's funny that like the way the grandma goes about kind of trying to empower Olive as being like, I can't get it if I misquote it or get it wrong, but like saying that he likes a woman with a bit of meat on the bone. I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I know you're trying to be supportive, but I don't know if this is the exact way to frame it. But it's funny because you think about him being Richard's dad, and you can see why Richard turned out so like anally retentive and kind of control. Like, I think Richard likes to have control because his dad is like the opposite of that. Yeah. And then the whole thing with like, I think control is a big thing in this film, and like discipline, because like the whole thing about Dwayne and I think Richard says early on, like, oh, he's got a tremendous amount of discipline.
He does.
So I think he sees kind of fatness, unruliness, lack of discipline as kind of, you know, that to him that's not what's going to be conducive to success. Yeah. Even though he himself is not successful at all.
I know. And I also feel like you made me think that that's also kind of holding a mirror up to fat phobic society in a way. It's kind of like, look how ridiculous you look and sound. Like, fatness does not inherently mean a lack of motivation or a lack of discipline. Yeah. Like, there are so many factors that go into what a person's body looks like, genetic and otherwise, and it has nothing to do with that. Like, I would consider myself a very hardworking person, but I go in for a job interview and they see my body and they don't think that. Yeah. So, you know, it's very hard to fight against those stereotypes, and I don't know if many audiences caught on to that, but I'm like, it is kind of just like holding up a mirror, being like, do you see how crazy you look? You look kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Maybe chill.
He looks like he is very much painted as the, and in a different film, he could be seen as the hero. Like, if it's framed differently, like, this is a guy who just wants the best for his family and he's striving, you know, but actually they're going, yeah, you're kind of a dick. Like, it's, the thing about success in this film is interesting how then by the end it's kind of reframed of what is it to be successful. It isn't necessarily winning, whatever that looks like. It's just
trying.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you fail, you fail. And if you win, that's great. But, you know, yeah, just trying. Because I really like that in the hotel room, Grandpa tells Olive, like, you know who the real losers are? People who are too afraid of losing to try.
Yeah.
And I think that's very true. Is you're not going to win everything. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's gonna like how you look or who you are and all that stuff, which is how what beauty pageants are about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. At least you tried, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. It is that thing of like, if you don't put yourself out there, and you'll never, if you don't try, you'll never know what could have been, and don't be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the really lovely thing about Olive is she does have those moments of not being confident, but throughout the film, she's mostly a very confident young girl, which obviously it's her mum and her grandpa have really made her to be that way. And I do find it very funny though that that not even her mum would have been like, "Can I have a look at the routine before we,
She's like, we trust the heroin snorting grandfather figure to.
So he knows what's like tasteful and what like is not."
To pick something, appropriate and good for the beauty Yeah, that's. I do love that song though.
Freak the Super Freak is so perfect, and the whole routine along with it is just so good.
Yeah, we were talking about how the parents didn't double check that.
Yeah, like again, it's like I find that such a funny. But again, I kind of, because Olive and their granddad are so close, you kind of again you buy into it. I think in another film you'd be like, "That's so ridiculous." Like I could fully believe that the dad would have no interest or like not. Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh, just do whatever you're doing with granddad."
He's he's too busy trying to sell his book or whatever.
To Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Can you forget Bryan Cranston's in this film? You're like, "Oh God, it's Bryan Cranston."
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Yeah, it's such a sweet scene and such a. Again, I think what's really nice in this film is you see relationships you so rarely get to see in the media. So like a granddad and granddaughter.
And it's not like in a creepy way. It's in like an endearing way.
Yeah, exactly. In a very sweet, I think overwhelmingly, even though there's kind of moments of darkness and and strangeness, it's a very sweet film. And there's a lot of sweet moments in it. And I think that's really nice because again, on paper you could be like, this is quite a dark film about, pageants and all the stuff that comes with it. But yeah, it's a very sweet film.
I think it's also really nice how I think the one thing that how do I want to put this, that unites everyone is their love, no matter how misguided in their approach for Olive.
Yes.
Like that's the one thing that all of them share, is that they love her and want to protect her and want her to be happy and successful, whatever that means to each of them in their eyes of her, which obviously some of them it's kinder approach than others. But I really when I was watching it, I was like, the one thing that relates all these people together besides actually like being related is that they love Olive.
Yeah, and rallying behind. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what makes them all come together at the end. Is literally that rallying around her and wanting to protect her, as you said. And like, it's incredibly sweet. And even like near the end, because obviously Dwayne for so much of the film is literally silent, and actually seeing his kind of brotherly instinct come out near the end is very sweet. But yeah,
he sheds his teenage angst a little bit, and he's like, "Man, I love my sister."
Yeah,
which is really cute. Yeah, I feel like now we should get into the beauty pageant of it all, the main event. Here we go. So the first thing that we really see is when they're checking in, and Miss California is there, and I feel like this is one of the most well-known scenes from the movie. Is when she walks up and she's like, "Do you like ice cream?" And Miss California is like, "Yeah." And she's just like, Olive's face lights up, and so does her mom. She's like, "Thank you, yes." Like, you didn't give an answer like, "No, I don't eat ice cream."
Zero fat. Yeah, exactly. It's such a, again, I think this film is so good at kind of telling things in its dialogue without having to spell it out, and that's like such a beautiful moment of like, they're almost like going, yes. Their mom's going, yes. Like, like, fuck you, dad. Like, it's
yeah, exactly. She's like, thank you. Someone that my daughter like looks up to and wants to be like, is like, yeah, I like ice cream. And it's such a small thing, you think. Yes. But in reality, it can become a bigger thing. And so you gotta kind of nip that in the bud.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they go backstage, and something that I really noticed was the way that Olive was looking at everyone else. She was definitely comparing herself to them, which she hadn't really done in the rest of the film. Like you said, she was very confident in herself, except for a couple times where she, had a moment and then one of her family members helps her. But yeah, you can tell that she's looking at everybody. And the crazy thing is, she looks like a normal child.
Yes.
Everyone else is really the people that look kind of nuts.
Yeah. It's interesting. I used to watch, like, at the time, like Toddlers and Tiaras and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean, they used actual pageant girls in the film, which is why it kind of feels so
real.
So real, yeah. But like, again, it's that thing of them becoming little kind of dolls almost or something. It's like there's nothing human about them. It's like the teeth and the hair and again, you see Olive and you just go, well, that's what your average kind of 7 or 8-year-old looks like and behaves like. And
but then she sticks out like a sore thumb because she's not doing all the glitz and the glam and the fake tan and the flippers and all that stuff.
Yeah, the flippers. Yeah, it's and I think they're doing like spray tans backstage as well, aren't they? And like it's
first of all, you don't spray tan right before you go on stage.
Yeah, I did think that. I was like, also they would be up in their hotel rooms. They wouldn't be all backstage together. I'm like, why?
Because it needs to dry. If you put something on and it like rubs your skin the wrong way, it's gonna leave patchiness. So just saying, that's not accurate. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the 100% authentic, but I think it's that I think all of seeing her kind of, again, as you said, compare and like, again, it really takes you back to being a little girl and maybe at things like that and kind of looking around and we going, oh, like this is, and even like as a teenager or whatever, even being a bit older and comparing yourself and feeling quite confident maybe when you left the house or when you left, you're on your own, but suddenly you're in a room full of other people and you're kind of going, oh, I'm, how am I different to everyone around me?
Yeah. And it also made me think like, so I also was a huge fan of Toddlers and Tiaras growing up. And did you watch King of Queens ever? That was another one.
I don't think I watched it, but I know about it, yeah.
I loved that one. That one was a little less insane than Toddlers and Tiaras. But watching this and then comparing it with that, they're very similar. And it kind of made me think, like you compared it to being like a doll, being dressed up, which I agree with. But it also made me think, like when we're that age, we, especially in like the pageant world, they are made to be dressed like grown women. Like they're wearing hair and makeup and dresses like grown women do. But then as we age, they're like, you need to look more like a child. You need to be hairless.
Yeah.
No wrinkles. Like, it's so weird how when we're children, we're forced to be more mature. But then when we're adult women, we're told that we need to look like a baby.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I find that, again, we're talking about thinness. That's another way. It's like, having no kind of chest, having no hips, having no, it's like that kind of very childlike figure. And as you said, hairless everywhere, but having very long hair,
and lashes and
lashes, and it's so bizarre. And as you said, like I remember even being little and wanting to look older, and I remember when we used to get fancy dress face paint, I used to say, oh, can I have princess face paint? Because that would it would look like makeup because they would do your lips. And so I was like, I'm so yeah. And also, like, it made me think about, I don't know if you remember in the Toddlers and Tiaras thing, the whole Little Woman not Little Woman, that's very different. Pretty Woman, the whole thing.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A 3 or 4-year-old dressed as like Julia Roberts as a sex worker.
Like the stripper part. Yeah, the sex worker part. It's like
crazy. It's just yeah, it's so wrong. And another thing that came into my mind was Honey Boo Boo.
Yes.
Because you think about, fatness and beauty pageants and all of that around it and everything in class and everything that comes with that as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I still watch like Mom and June, Road to Redemption
Oh,
stuff.
but you know, or not, or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, well, now it's not hot. I never watched the beginning seasons with all the weight loss stuff. I just watch her
No.
stuff now because unfortunately I could kind of relate to Alana and the whole like
Mm.
having an addict parent who's just like in and out, disappearing. Like, so I did watch that, but the weight loss stuff, I tried to start watching the first season like a year or two ago
Yeah.
just because I was like, I've only seen the later seasons. I'm going to try to watch all of them. Why? I don't know, for my own self. And I was like, yeah, no,
No.
can't do it. I can't do it.
But yeah, it's funny because I think back then Alana would have stuck out a little bit because even though they did glitz her up, obviously, you know, her mum was like they were very working class kind of. So it's interesting. That popped into my head of that thing of her feeling like an outsider.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallels between this and Toddlers and Tiaras, like Olive's performance in the Pretty Woman controversy, and then also like Alana not being the same size as the other kids and Olive not being the same size as the other kids. It's just, listen, I always wanted to be in beauty pageants, despite the fact that I watched Toddlers and Tiaras and saw how crazy everyone was. I was like, I want to do that. But and I've talked about this before, and she's gonna hate me bringing it up again, and it's okay, Mom, I promise, because she listens to this. Where like I wanted to be in beauty pageants, but my mom told me I had to lose 50 pounds to be in a beauty pageant. And I know now from talking to her that in her mind she was like, this will motivate my daughter to lose some weight. But in my mind I was like, oh, I need to lose weight so I can be pretty enough to be in the beauty pageant.
Right, yeah.
So again, it shows the like, kind of like with the dad, the good intentions, but the way it's communicated or the way that it is taken by the child is not the same, like,
yes,
you know. And
exactly. Intention versus like execution and thinking I'm doing what's best, but doing it in a very kind of clumsy human way. When I was 14 or 15, I wrote so in UK schools or Irish schools, but not Irish schools. I'm in Northern Ireland, so it's a bit of a grey area. But we do GCSEs at like 14 or 15, which are kind of our first big exams. And I did drama, and as part of that, I wrote like a Toddlers and Tiaras parody, like 25-minute like mini play, with all of the stereotypes. I wish I could find it somewhere, the script, because it was the first time I've written anything kind of, you know, in that length. But yeah, it was full of kind of cliches and probably very problematic. So I wrote it when I was 14.
I'm sure.
I'm 29 now, but yeah, and a lot of that stuff came up, and I think also probably was informed by Little Miss Sunshine as well as Toddlers and Tiaras.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I hope that you can find it sometime. Maybe you can revamp it and put it out there, because I'm sure it's still very topical. Pageants are still happening. Beauty standards are crazy. Yeah.
I was in it as well. I played like I think I played like the kind of very stereotypical kind of blonde pageant mom, and then I had someone who was a bit like Mama June, and then I had like kind of over the top flamboyant kind of gay dads, and then I had like a straight dad who was just there again, a bit like kind of like didn't really know what to do with himself.
Like that one dad who has in the ballroom who has the things in his ears. He's like, "This is your first one."
This is a sinister thing. So I don't know if this was, but I think they kind of thought he might be like not a parent.
I thought about that because he's not with anyone else.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if that was intentional or not. I remember someone mentioning it, but I can't remember in what context. But I was like, I like to think that because at the end when he goes, woo, like he cheers. I'm like, that doesn't give, you're trying to be inconspicuous here. So like, I'm hoping.
I'm just going to choose to believe in humanity and hope and pray that he was just there and his wife is backstage freaking out.
Yeah, you know what? That tracks.
trying to get everything, and she's like in the back, like, do the little.
Yeah, I used to love to, and then starting right, yeah. Working
Well,
it.
and then also the other thing is the swimsuit competition for kids that young. That is honestly for kids in general, anyone under 18, that's just
Well,
freaking weird. But
yeah.
like, why? Why is that necessary?
What
Because
is it?
you're supposed to be like judging their physique, I guess, or their confidence. But I'm like, you don't need them in a bathing suit at 7 years old to judge their confidence.
No, it's
Put them in a ball gown.
it's
Put them in
yeah,
a ball
exactly.
gown.
It's bad enough that they're kind of, you know, and actually I think the host is really funny. Like it's a really good really good portrayal of that host. But I love that bit where he's singing to them all and Olive just looks really uncomfortable.
I wrote that down. I was like, I have to mention the fact that all the girls are like smiling. You know, they have their pageant face on, and Olive's like, what is
There's
wrong
this
with
strange
you?
orange man who's like singing.
Why is and it really is truly him using it as an opportunity to be like, look at me. Look at me. And I'm like, it's not about you. No one's here for you. I hate to admit it, my guy, but nobody's here.
No
Although I
one's
will
here.
say, sometimes the pageant announcers and toddlers and tiaras were the best thing.
Yes.
So I'm obsessed with anything musical theater. And I love Andrew Rannells. And like forever ago, he did an interview where he was like, I can't remember if he said he wanted to be one of the pageant announcers or he just really liked how they talk. And he's like, this is Mackenzie. Mackenzie's 8 years old. She wants to rule the world. Her favorite food is chicken fingers.
I like the people who run those pageants, particularly those women who announce the girls and be like, this is Katie. Katie loves macaroni and cheese and her mama.
It's good.
Mackenzie wants to rule the world. Her favorite food is chicken fingers.
It cracks me up every time I think about it.
That's so funny. I'm just thinking as well about, it was a couple of episodes, I think, but there was one pageant, I think it was in Vegas, that was judged by like drag lookalikes, and Derek Barry from Drag Race as Britney Spears was one of the judges. Hilarious. I just remember that because I was like, is that Derek Barry? But yeah, I love that kind of, the hosts. Actually, most of the time in Toddlers and Tiaras, they seemed quite uninterested because usually it was the organisers. So as you said, it was kind of like, this is whoever and they're whatever, here's all, and you know. But actually, it's quite funny to see this guy who's again thinks he's really
he's about as dolled up as the girls, like the fake tan and the hair and everything.
I love how he likes Olive's performance as well. He kind of is like dancing like into it. I like and the guy who's the
audio guy.
Yeah, the audio guy. He's like there's so many. This film has so many little kind of heroes in it, and little kind of like the waitress and him, and like lovely little kind of you know, people
just little acts of kindness. Like you see people being just like nice people. Yeah. Yeah, when he's like woo at the end. That's so great. I will say one of the funny things was while she was performing, Miss California was also into it. She was like, get it. The lady next to her is freaking out.
It's that thing of the like, of course what she's doing these kind of like moves that are inherently kind of like associated with being sexual, but she doesn't know that. She's just dancing, and so they're all sexualizing her by putting that on her. And actually, you've had a look at these girls who have been, as you said, made up to look like women, and there's no problem with that. There's no problem with because they're being made up to look like conventionally, you know, attractive, put together women. And now you have a little girl who she doesn't know she's doing anything inherently, you know, raunchy. Or she's just like, my granddad taught me this really fun dance, and they have a problem with that. They have a problem with that presentation of maturity, or so
there's like a line that you can't cross. Yeah,
it's a hypocrisy. It's kind of like you can dress them up like, you know, however you know you're old, but you can't, you know, because it's playful and it's silly, and of course it's also like grandpa, like, because at this point grandpa's dead in the trunk of the car.
Yeah. He's in the trunk of our car. He's like, okay, moving on. There are so many good moments in this film, and it's just it is honestly oddly heartwarming at times. And I think the audience falls as much in love with Olive as her family does. watching this. And I do hope that it showed people that let kids be kids. It's weird
Yes.
when we try to like make them up as adults, which obviously we're still doing that. Like I see kids, and especially with social media, like it is so much worse, I feel like. That's why people are like, teenagers don't even look like teenagers anymore. I'm like, yeah, because they have TikTok and they're seeing all these adults like saying, this is what's trendy, this is what's cool to like wear and how to do your makeup. And so they're just like, oh, so that's how I should look. Whereas back in the day, they didn't have, all of that access to so much through social media. And so, there were some interesting outfits, but they were
Yeah,
being kids.
exactly. It was all play. It was kind of playful and like it wasn't. I don't know. It is sad. I just think that we were kind of. I don't know if you're a similar age to me, but like we were kind of the last generation that almost kind of got away with it. Like I kind of was aware of certain things, but I look back at pictures of myself as like a teen, like 11, 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm wearing a bit of makeup, but it's not, it's just a bit like, it's fun and it's playful, it's experimental. I'm not trying to, assimilate or look a certain way, but it is, it is scary, but I think it's so nice to see again a child being a child and
not worrying about like what's trendy or that they feel that they need to look a certain way. I'm 25, and so I did grow up with some social media, but my mom was also super strict about when we were allowed to start using it, which of course when I was younger annoyed me to no end.
yes.
I wasn't comparing myself to other people on the internet or seeing things that I shouldn't be seeing. And so yeah, I kind of got to grow up with the not comparing myself to at least people online. Of course, we compare ourselves to our peers all the time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
me looking back at, I don't know about you, but me looking back at some old photos, the business casual, the leggings, it's so
Some of
scary.
the leggings and cardigans and and also going like I wasn't even just comparatively maybe because I was matured quite early, but comparatively
Same.
maybe I was bigger, but actually I'm like, oh my god, I wasn't big, like I wasn't that big, but in my head I was like, oh my god, I was enormous. But again, it was just because everyone around me was so much smaller. But yeah, so many boleros and like leggings and like
Oh goodness. It was a time.
but yeah, it's I really love that at the end everyone rallying behind Olive and dancing with her and making her feel like you're not the weird one here, like and if you are the weird one here, we're all weird with you.
Moral of the story, let kids be kids. That is not bad. And beauty pageants are crazy.
And maybe we can take a vow of silence.
Yes. Maybe take a vow of silence. Honestly, there are a few people that I would love to take a vow of silence.
Should take vows of silence.
Some of you guys should really ponder that, and we'll get back to you, and we'll hope that you have decided to do that. In terms of positive or negative fat representation, what would you say that this movie is?
I think net positive. I think there's bits of it that I'm like, especially like the ethics of putting a child in a padded suit. But again, I kind of understand why they would do that in terms of safeguarding.
Yeah.
And actually seeing at the reunion now, Abigail Breslin, is, again, not to speak about another woman's body, but just looks like a perfectly normal adult woman. I'm like, I don't know, I think net positive because of how she's treated and how fatness is discussed, and particularly that line, she doesn't say as long as you're healthy. I don't think she says as long as you're happy. And so I think that is, I think overall.
Yeah. I would also say positive, just because it's a realistic depiction of what it's like to grow up as a girl and in a body that isn't considered ideal. And it also just shows like how from such a young age these body ideals are forced on us. Like, I forgot that I had these stats, but I looked up 81% of girls age 10 are afraid of being fat and have been on at least one diet by the age of 10. And so anyone who's watching this movie and they're like, that's not realistic because she's so young, think again. Unfortunately, it is very realistic. And yeah, it's sad. And
Yeah.
I hope that things can take a turn for the positive and that we can stop doing that. But also, again, with social media, it's very complicated. And like you said, there's like undertones of fat phobia, and there's some things that are like a little controversial with the film. But again, I don't think it's showing anything that doesn't actually happen.
Yeah, it's very human, like very, and it doesn't feel like the film has any agenda in terms of like demonizing anything or anybody. It just feels very relatable and very human, and people trying their best, even if that comes out the wrong way.
Yeah. I honestly hope that we can get back to making more films like this, where we see, like, we feel like we're watching real people. That would be so nice.
That's
what I hope, anyway. Yes.
You know, it's the kind of thing that I would love to make. It's that kind of those kind of stories and the dialogue and I think was it their first film, at least the screenwriters, it was their first film, so like it's very accomplished for like a first for a first film. And again, like the fact that 20 years on it still resonates and still feels, you know, somewhat relevant and you know, is I think just a testament to the quality of the filmmaking and everything involved in it.
And also the fact that we need to be making more progress in certain areas.
Yeah,
because it's still very topical with body image and, you know, how little girls are growing up comparing themselves and all the beauty pageant stuff, which I'm not hating on anyone that does beauty pageants. I'm just saying you got to be careful. Like, again, I say, like, growing up, I wanted to be in a beauty pageant so bad. So bad. So, you know, I'm not judging you, but also, like, be careful and make sure that you have your best interest, and if you're a parent, your child's best interest at heart.
100%, yeah.
Please and thank you. So yeah, I think that is all for this episode. You want to plug your socials so that people can find you?
Yes, I am at Kate M. Kearns, which is C-A-I... I'm going to take that again. It's at Kate M. Kearns, which is CAITMKEARNS on most platforms.
I will have all of that linked below, as well as my personal socials and the podcast socials. As always, this is an independently produced, hosted, all the things podcast, so I'd really appreciate it if you liked, rated us 5 stars, shared it, and yeah, all the stuff. Subscribe, all the things. And until next time, stay fat and fabulous. Bye.